Okay, Scotland were playing Ireland today in the Six Nations at Murrayfield. A lot riding on the game. The permutations of whoever won this game would ultimately impact the Six Nations table. Now, Ireland have run out 22 points to 7 winners. It was 8 points to 7 at half time in favour of Ireland, so Ireland have scored all the points in the second half, and the second half is very interesting, partly because Ireland don't have a hooker throwing in. Josh van der Fleer, the flanker, is actually throwing in the lineouts, and Cian Healy has to come on as an emergency hooker in the scrums. So I found it interesting that Scotland failed to take advantage of the weakness in the Scottish pack there at set play. Open play, Cian Healy is a great ball carrier. It doesn't really affect them in open play. It affects them at set plays at line out and scrum. And Ireland were pretty dominant in that area. The first half is very, very even. And it could have gone either way that first half in the sense of who was leading at half time. Ireland did have a try disallowed, and I think Van der Merwe was actually lucky to stay on the field with that attempt to stop Matt Hansen's try with basically a shoulder charge. And I have seen retrospective yellow and red cards given even after a try has been scored. So I felt the referee got that one a little bit wrong. If we're talking about player safety and protecting the head and taking illegal challenges like that out of the game, which they've never been allowed anyway, but taking them out of the game, it was an illegal attempt at a tackle. So while it doesn't ultimately impact the end of the game, on a refereeing standpoint, and if we're trying to take player welfare more seriously, that should have been a yellow at least, or maybe even a red, not just a try given and we don't, and we just carry on. So it'd be interesting to see if the citing commissioner gives Van der Merwe a little bit of a suspension there. But overall, I felt the first half was very interesting. There is one other controversial moment, the disallowed try in the first half at Ireland after just 5 minutes. Now, Scotland obviously wanted to keep the pace of the game quite fast, and they were doing these quick line-outs, which they weren't getting accurately right, and the Irish are picking them off. The Irish pick off a quick Scotland line-out, and they score a try, or so it seems. The referee blows his whistle. What has actually happened is, this is a technical rule. They use a different ball. When I say this, the ball's been kicked out, okay? Stuart Hogg's grabbed the ball in his hand. He's got the ball. The Scottish hooker's got another ball. And so, technically, the ball that Stuart Hogg's got hasn't been classed as dead, so he can't throw in with the other ball. So, it's a technical infringement. So Irish fans will be blowing up. Ultimately, it hasn't impacted the game. If that try stands, I think the momentum fully goes with Ireland in the first half, and we have a different outcome to the first half, and possibly the game, the scoreline could have been massively different. It doesn't stand, but shortly after that, Johnny Sexton slots his penalty on 12 minutes, and this is after a significant period of Irish pressure. Then we go the other way, and then Scotland have a significant period of pressure as well. They're forming many phases together. Now, the Hugh Jones try is quite interesting, because not everything is going through Finn Russell. Tuapolota is taking up a lot of the carries and playmaking from inside centre. Also, what is very interesting is normally Scotland play a very high attacking line. The Irish have got a very, very good rugby league style blitz defence. Scotland are playing at it with a deeper line. So Finn Russell isn't carrying the ball straight to the line before giving that high risk pass. He's passing earlier and dictating play earlier, where he has a bit more space and a bit more accuracy. The Hugh Jones try comes from that, where Scotland are playing out a little bit deeper to allow their playmakers to have that bit more space and time, and to negate a very good Irish defence. Now, Hugh Jones is a wrecking ball of a man. You could play him inside centre, outside centre, or on either wing. And I think he's done that for Scotland over many, many years now. He is a powerful ball runner. He will punch holes in defensive lines. And that's how he scores his try. Great run. The pass comes to his hands. He's hit the ball at pace, and he's through the line. It's a very, very good try, and Russell converts. Scotland are now taking the lead. Slowly, however, the momentum is swinging both ways in this game. No team has really got fully on top in this game. There are injuries to both sides. I will talk about the second half and how Ireland will end up with basically a prop playing hooker and a flanker throwing in for the lineouts, and that's where I feel Scotland lost this game, was not targeting those set plays at scrum and at lineout, especially with the rain, the intermittent rain, when you've got a flanker throwing in and you've got a prop playing as an emergency hooker to allow who can play hooker, but is an emergency hooker for scrummaging purposes. So there's still contested scrums, and they didn't take advantage of those weaknesses because of injuries. So that, I think, is partly where Scotland win. Scotland lose and Ireland win. Now, the Mac Hansen try, it's a brilliant try. Wave after wave of pressure. Scotland are on the back foot defensively. The long pass, I mean, that is a fantastic, 30-yard pass? It's accurate with pace. Now, Mac Hansen's a quick little winger. Van der Merwe is a big bloke. He's a powerful bloke. He's a big bloke. How he attempts to stop the try, Mac Hansen scores. If Mac Hansen doesn't score, that's a penalty try. And in my opinion, even though the try has been scored by Hansen, that should have at least been a yellow card, because that is a shoulder charge. And in the current climate in both rugby union and rugby league, that is an illegal tackle. That's a no arms tackle. And we have seen retrospective after the try has been scored, the player spending some time in the sin bin or getting sent off. So I felt the referee got that one wrong in regards to the ill-discipline by Van der Merwe. Hansen's try is brilliant. Smaller man using his pace to outdo the bigger man defensively. And they did stretch Scotland's defence. Scotland were giving away constant penalties here. Now, Sexton misses that conversion. And that's the end of the scoring in the first half. So it's still an arm wrestle. And it's a very entertaining game. Both sides having a lot of ball. Both sides battling at the breakdown, the tackle area. They're trying to be expansive in changeable conditions. And considering the weather we've had in the UK over the last 2-3 weeks, a lot of rain, a lot of snow, cold nights and cold spells, the handling skills today were pretty good. They were fantastic, to be fair. Now, it's half time. It's 8 points to 7. We can debate the disallowed try and the technicalities behind the rule on that, and we can debate the fact that Van der Merwe, in my opinion, and I'm going on games that I've watched before, so precedent. I have seen referees, even after the try has been scored, giving that player who's committed the no arms tackle, the shoulder charge, basically a yellow card or a red card, depending on what's happened on the field. We've seen it before, so I think Van der Merwe's lucky there. Now, the second half is pretty much like the first half for a good 15 minutes. Good 15 minutes. And then James Lowe try. This is where I felt Scotland lost the game, was they weren't targeting a disrupted Irish line-out with Van der Fleer basically throwing the ball in, and a disrupted scrum with Cian Healy being an emergency hooker in the scrum. And that gave Ireland more confidence. So what would have been seen as an area where Scotland could target it and possibly win the game, they don't. They don't put pressure on the line-out. They don't put enough pressure at the scrum. And ultimately, that gives Ireland more confidence. And that's a sign of a very good side. They are backs against the wall here. They've lost their two hookers, starting hooker and replacement hooker. I think they had like 3 players go off injured in the first half, in the game. So that's impacted how they use their replacements, and Scotland did not target the line-out or the scrum effectively. Now, the James Lowe try comes on 57 minutes, and the Jack Conan try comes on 61 minutes. And that brief 5-minute spell, the game is won, and Scotland lose the game on the scoreboard. But in reality, in that before those 2 tries are scored, they haven't, as I say, taken advantage of a disrupted line-out and a disrupted scrum. Open play, it doesn't really affect Ireland, but it's in those set plays. I'm surprised Scotland didn't keep pinging the ball into touch to force Van der Fleer to have more throw-ins, and I'm surprised they didn't target the line-out more effectively with disruption. So they allowed Van der Fleer to gain confidence, and clearly, obviously, Ireland have practiced worst-case scenario, and they know Van der Fleer can throw the ball in reasonably effectively. And of course, Cian Healy has clearly practiced being an emergency hooker should the worst case scenario happen, and he's a very good scrummager. So these are not inexperienced players having to do this, but even so, testing conditions, especially with the line out, which could have been an area of strength for Scotland. They didn't do enough disruption of those set plays, and then you get the 2 quick tries that I think knocks the stuffing out of Scotland a little bit. And then after the Jack Conan try in 61 minutes, the game sort of meanders a little bit, loses a little bit of intensity, and in the end, the scoreline makes Ireland look more comfortable than they actually were, but they were given a proper test match for 60 minutes. Scotland have come a very long way under Gregor Townsend. This is their best Six Nations as in Six Nations under Gregor Townsend that I think they've ever had. They have come on leaps and bounds both in attack and in defence. And there were periods in that first half where, Johnny Sexton decides to go for the penalty rather than go for the corner and let's try the next phase of play, try and get a try. Ireland respected Scotland's defence. But that game management, knowing that you've got a weakened opponent in key areas and they didn't take advantage of it, that's something that Scotland still haven't quite got right. Now, on a side note, Johnny Sexton has now equalled Ronan O'Gara's scoring record for the Six Nations with 557 points. And of course, he's going to play next weekend. So there's every opportunity that Johnny Sexton is going to break Ronan O'Gara's Six Nations scoring record, in which is probably most likely his last Six Nations. I don't think that record gets broken for a while. But no, I think Ireland weathered the disruption to losing key players. And that's a sign of a good side. They are still that little bit better than Scotland, although Scotland, I think, are sort of definitely the third best team in the Six Nations. I think the teams below them have got more improvement to do. And I think France and Ireland are still that step above Scotland. But Scotland gave Ireland a proper test match for 60 minutes. And then there's a 5-minute spell where they completely tune out. Ireland get 2 very quick tries, considering their backs are against the wall in the sense of no hooker, line out disrupted. And then the last 10, 15 minutes, there is a lengthy injury delay as well, which I think takes the sting out of the game. Very lengthy injury delay. And the game sort of meanders off. But Ireland, deserved winners. Scotland, for 60 minutes, were very good. And then they lose their focus and they allow the intensity to drop off. And they didn't take advantage of a weakened Ireland pack in the set play. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below, and I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.